I want you to get together.
Okay. So do you mess around with the Tartaria mud flood theory? Like, do you think these old societies were actually of high technology,
I
comparable
mean, I
or in
mean,
excess to ours? Or?
it's a deep subject, isn't it? That one, that's a whole podcast in its own right. But
Yeah.
I've touched on it a few times on my channel. I've leaned also into the millennial reign, the millennial kingdom theory as well. That it's Jesus has already come and reigned for 1,000 years, like he said he would.
Yeah.
And what we call Tartaria is a cover up for when Jesus was on Earth, reigning for 1,000 years and building these advanced civilizations. Basically, when he was in control in the flesh, and we obviously were living like gods at that time and had these abilities to create a beautiful, perfect designed, in tune with nature and electricity way.
Okay.
That's one. That's a theory, though. That is a theory. A lot of people. It's called preterism. It's based on the idea that prophecy has already come and passed, and we're actually living in Revelations 20 in the script, because a lot of Christians are sat around waiting for Jesus to return. This argument says he's already returned. It happened not long after he said it would. Not long after he died and was resurrected in 70 AD. That's when it happened. Okay, and if that was that 1,000 year reign has already come and gone, and we're now living in what's called Satan's little season. So this is the popular theory that's going around Christian circles to explain the Tartarian thing. Again, I'm open to it all. I'll never discount anything, but it really is one of those shelf of wonder topics. Because
Okay.
how am I supposed to know? But something happened clearly. Like, so I think some of these buildings are extremely suspect, and obviously the mud flood thing is very apparent. There's a lot of buildings half kind of a little bit under the ground for some weird reason. You know what I mean? Is something definitely happened, and the Christian angle of the millennial reign is a really fascinating take on it all. Really is. It really is.
I'm gonna have to look into that. What
Yeah.
about so there's a lot of literature worldwide mentioning beings kind of similar to what you're describing who live underground
Mm-hmm.
and they were here before we were, right? Does that tie into Nephilim in your opinion, or do you think again that's the weird hybridization gone awry?
I would put it down to the hybridization gone awry situation. But there is also this other theory which might explain this. It also explains the reptilian men, the lizard people underground, where they predominantly are. Did you ever see Midnight Meat Train? That really weird film, like from years ago, like a horror film. It's a film about this murderer on a train who kills people, and then
Okay.
and with a butcher's cleaver, like a mallet, like to tenderize meat. That's his weapon of choice, right? Anyway, you think it's just a typical horror, but the spoiler alert: the catch is, it's his job to get bodies to feed the lizard people. To keep them appeased so they don't come to the surface and eat everybody. So he's not actually a bad guy. He's just the person who has the unfortunate job of doing this thing that must be done. Otherwise, the reptilians will come up and kill everybody. Do you know what I mean? So it's always been in the media that there's this underground race of reptiles people. And if you look at the biblical story, people have said, the serpent in the garden who was walking with Adam and Eve and convinced Eve to bite of the apple was this race of reptilian men, was likely maybe a product of the seraphim. It was their version of creation, something, an experiment of theirs. You know what I mean? Like a made in their image, in a sense, like a reptile man thing. But God obviously created Adam in His image and chose him to be the ruler over the earth, the tiller of the earth, the one that would be king over the earth. And He started teaching him all the things, and started teaching Adam how to name all the animals and all this, and didn't give it to the reptilian race. And this is where the rebellion is said to have kicked off. The reptilian seraphim saw this and says, why didn't God choose the reptilian man? He's clearly the more superior species. This is an affront to us and everything we've done for him. They got upset about that. So I've heard theories, that like you said, they're far older than us. It's possible they were around walking in the Garden of Eden during this ancient time as a race of beings akin to humans in a way, but of a reptile nature, not mammalian. you know. And it's like the goal that God chose a stupid monkey mammal over the superior reptile to rule over the earth is a lot of where the rebellion was mustered and harnessed in the angels. You know, I've heard that theory, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know this, you know, but I love speculating about it. It's
Yeah,
fascinating to get into. But I've heard that theory,
yeah,
so that might explain what you're talking about. That this really is an ancient race, and I think it says, you know, the punishment of the serpent was that you will crawl on your belly and eat dust for the rest of your days. You will, you
yeah.
know, you will bruise the woman. There'll be enmity now between the woman's seed and your seed. So your offspring and humanity's offspring. There's going to be a war between you forever now, and you know you will bruise their heel and they'll crush your head. So it's kind of this.
Hmm.
You're now cursed forever, and you know to eat the dust of the earth may imply you and I'll have to live underground. It could be that.
Yeah,
You know, I'm just again
yeah.
spitballing with the concepts and the words used. So maybe there is a subterranean race of lizard people who have been cursed to live under there since the Garden of Eden, and what the role they played in corrupting humanity along with the seraphim angels. Because if you're a reptilian and you've got these reptile gods above you, they're just like you, so you'll probably do what they say. And if this reptile god comes up to you and says, "Listen, can you see what God's done there? He's chosen Adam over you. That's not right. That's not cool. We were here first, right? So why don't you go over there and convince them to do that thing God said not to do?" You know, it's possible that
Yeah.
it's like a birds of a feather flock together situation. The reptilians stuck together on that one, and obviously, who knows? You know, I'm just speculating off the stories that we have, but it does seem like people always talk about encounters with a reptilian race of some kind, and it's in the media. They talk about them all the time, you know. So
Yeah.
are they Nephilim? No, they're not. From what I've seen, they're something else. They're like yeah, Nephilim are specific creatures. They are fallen angels who have mixed with humans. They're a mammal reptile hybrid. They look like clowns as well. They look psychedelic and crazy and stupid. So yeah, that's the
Mm.
difference. That's the
Yes,
difference.
yeah.
Because the reptilians are always drawn the same: green skin, big yellow eyes. You know, they're always the same, aren't they? There's nothing clownish about them particularly, and I think that's because they are a specific class or race of entity that does exist, probably still in
Okay.
physical form. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Like in the occult, right? They'll use many different symbols to explain the same thing, right? And they'll have different manifestations, like Saturn is also the check mark, is the square, is,
Yeah,
the eye of Sauron, And so for me, when I heard your thesis, I kind of tied it in with the whole reptilian thing. But I guess ultimately we're just speculating extreme hypotheticals here. But no,
yeah,
I like I like what you're saying. And the justification. Yeah, like you'll be at their heels, eating dust. That's interesting. So I see what you did there, and I appreciate it. When you see, when you see, let's say in the world politically, do you see a certain group being more Nephilim adjacent?
yeah. You've got to be careful here. You've got to be careful what you say right now. I called them the multicolored collective to get around actually talking about the individuals in question here. But yes, there are
Yeah.
a certain group of people who do seem to be heavily influenced by the demonic, as shown through their color palette and designs and the things they choose to wear. I think
Okay.
the spiritual world is a reflection of the physical. That's what's understood by these ancient tribes, and dressing like the thing attracts the thing to possess you. But also, if you're also heavily possessed by something already, you will reflect that in the things you choose to wear in the physical realm and the way you make yourself up to be. And you find members of the multicolored collective, which, by the way, is a huge umbrella of different classes of people with different ideologies and beliefs, but they all fundamentally eat each other alive in the end, you know. But their flag is the multicolored flag, we'll say. You know, they like to go on huge processions in which one of the worst possible sins is their logo. So
Mhm.
it's kind of these people, you know, do seem to manifest the spirit that's guiding them, which is the psychedelic fractaled multicolored Nephilim creatures. And you know, what is a gentleman who chooses to make himself up like a female, but something that looks incredibly clownish today.
Yeah.
I think I said it in the most politically correct around the algorithm way I could possibly explain it. But yes, people know what I'm talking about. People say it in the comments all the time. They look like clowns, don't they? and what they're really channeling is the Nephilim in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. But what about, there does seem to be on the world today a lot of evil that's not only clownifying, okay, kids and pushing what you're discussing, but
Yeah.
kind of trying to bring forth a Old Testament, uh, Old Testament prophecy and make it reality on the planet today in terms of following kind of Old Testament doomsday prophecies and such that have immense power, economic, and media and such. Do you also see that force being Nephilim? That there's groups high up politically that are serving the Nephilim, who may be in charge of banking, media, things like
I
that.
see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
the synagogue of Satan is what they're referred to as.
yeah,
We know who the master truly is. They are not the people they claim that they are. Okay, so that's the best way to summarize it very quickly and as succinctly as we can without getting too
yeah,
in trouble. But what I will say is there's a hierarchy behind them, which is fallen rebellious angels, their offspring, which are in the spiritual realm, and then there's secret societies that work below them as well and above them and for them. So the physical foot soldiers are the humans who are aligned with the demons who answer to their parents, the rebellious angels. There's a hierarchy, there's a structure. It's a military. There's a war going on here, and these characters you're talking about are just physical foot soldiers to do the bidding of those above them in the spiritual realms in the physical
yeah,
realm. So they're just playing their part,
yeah,
And there may be agendas to make it appear like certain prophecies are being fulfilled to then
yeah,
maintain the fear and foothold within certain people. But if you go off what I mentioned earlier about the millennial reign already happening and coming and going, then everything they're doing is a show because none of it's actually true. They're just trying to make it look like it's happening because it's already happened
yeah,
years ago. You know what I mean? And that belief that it's always around the corner, Jesus is always about to
yeah,
return, is what's controlling people now. Even though if we were to believe and understand history is a lie and he's already come and gone, and we'd know where we actually were in history. Then we're in the little
yeah,
season run by the devil, which is about 250 years roughly, and then after that, final white throne judgment, dead resurrected, big thing. Like, so if we're there,
okay,
something crazy is about to happen, and we're really in a crazy, crazy time to be alive, But
yeah,
it seems like there's always this push to believe that
understand.
the rapture's about to happen, or Jesus is about to come in the clouds, and a lot of Christians are banking on that happening. And what will they do? I reckon they'll reveal a Jesus character, and all the Christians who
Yeah,
don't understand this will
yeah,
believe their savior's come. It's likely Lucifer or the devil is in his little season presenting himself as the savior of all mankind, and then he'll gather his army, as it's described in Revelations 20, who will then go and make war with the camp of saints and surround it. And the camp of saints is where Jesus actually is, with the saints that ruled with him during the 1,000-year reign. But
mm,
before that happens in the Little Season story, the devil has to gather an army first of humans who will go and make war with that camp. And it's possible that's what's actually happening right now. And he'll pretend to be Jesus. That's how
yeah,
that's how he'll convince everybody to go make war with this evil place, that these evil invading aliens in the North Pole or something. You know what I mean? He'll make up some
yeah,
story,
yeah,
and we're going to go defeat Satan and his army in the North Pole. Come with me, my children. Follow me. I'm Jesus. Something like that will happen.
yeah,
Really, that is the deception. It's the devil pretending to be the savior and leading the people against the true God who's already come and reigned for 1,000 years. So it depends where we are in the timeline. If you want to believe human history is all a lie and you want to go down the Tartarian route, then that rabbit hole goes way deeper than you can imagine. And
yeah,
it changes everything, so who knows? You'd be open to all possibilities, but fundamentally,
yeah.
it's not a salvation issue. Just get right with Jesus. That's the ultimate thing you have to do. Get right with God.